First of all, after we've kind of developed need and want, one thing we want to do is a summarization statement to basically get them to buy in. So I left this off yesterday, so I wanted to mention this now. If you're not doing this already in the presentation, make sure you are. Again, we want to make sure we're trial closing throughout the presentation. Again, it's all implemented, integrated already in the script, but I want to bring your attention to this because it's important to get buy-in at different parts of the process to make sure the client is following along with you like we want them to. So for example, after we conclude the need and want health questions, what we need to ask the client is something like this. Okay, let me make sure I understand where you're coming from here, that we're on the same page. You want to get a policy. You don't want to die and leave this burden to your loved one. And, you just feel like now's the time to do this. So you take what they told you earlier, summarize it. Pro tip, use some of their language, their words that they actually used, and ask, does that sound like what you want to do today? Yes. So now you've gotten them to admit there's a problem, that they have this problem, that they agree to it, and that they want a solution to it. Does that make sense? This is very powerful. You want them to agree that there's a problem and they want to solve it. And that summarization script there is going to do a good job of doing that. Okay. Now, after that, we move into the inflation talk. Now, the inflation talk is more relevant than ever, and here's why. Inflation is like through the roof on everything. Everybody knows how much prices are going up, especially fixed income seniors who don't have a lot of money anyway. So inflation pricing is at the top of mind. They've already lived long enough to have experienced it, and guess what? They're experiencing it again. So this conversation, the reason we talk about this is because we need to not only get them to buy in that today, covering today's problem is very important, but that really what we're doing is covering tomorrow's problem too. And that if you factor in inflation and take away the bad inflation, just normal inflation on funeral prices, it goes up big time. And in the next 20 years, you'll have a doubling of the price. And what the point of describing this to the client is to not just get them to think about buying enough for today, but enough for 10, 15, 20 years and beyond, right? In other words, what this does is it helps you sell more insurance. It helps them see the expanse of the problem so that they're more bought into solving the problem to the proper degree. And again, some of you might be thinking, wow, I don't want to oversell these clients. And I get it. We'll remedy that later when we're talking budget. But the other thing that's important here is that, again, perspective here. I'm in the field full-time for the most part, 2011, part-time to that, to 2017. I've written about 1,500 policies. Half of those policies, half of them, already had life insurance. Isn't that interesting? There's a couple of takeaways from that. Nobody follows up with their clients, right? I would have had half the money had these agents out there actually picked up the phone and spent 30 seconds saying, hey, how things going? Can I get you more coverage, right? But the other thing, too, is that people want eventually more than what they get. And the question becomes, did the agent sell it the right way so he could have maximized everything up front? Or did he sell it the wrong way? My opinion is most agents don't do it the right way. It probably has more to do with not selling it the right way and just kind of selling the bare minimum. And I kind of did that too, because I didn't do the inflation talk. And my premium sizes reflected that. I had an average $45 a month premium, and we have agents now that are averaging $60, $70 a month in premium and final expense in average because of this inflation talk to help the client see more and to buy more, okay? So again, one thing you want to be careful here, and again, I'll let you guys look at the script to kind of reinforce this, but don't talk like collegiate level economics, all right? Like we're not talking about monetary policy or the Federal Reserve printing money endlessly, or like quantitative easing. If you know what that stuff is, great, and that's good. But your client doesn't. And when you start talking like that, they're just going to fall asleep, or they're going to think that you're talking these big words and that you're better than them, okay? Keep it simple. Talk in terminology your client understands. Like, hey, I'm sure you've seen how much prices have gone up for milk and rent and utilities. Well, it's the same way for funeral expenses. We're going to see a doubling of funeral costs in the next 20 years, if not sooner. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I know you're concerned about getting a policy to protect your loved ones today. But what you need to think, and I think you'll agree with me, is what about tomorrow, 5, 10, 20 years from now? Don't you need to have enough coverage for then, not just today? Don't you agree? Yeah. So keep that in mind as we go through this. So we're planting those seeds that may be more than what they originally thought was necessary. Again, this happens, right? I mean, I like to tell the story when we bought this new home. This was my first home that I bought, rented up to them. We had a bunch of hand-me-down furniture. So we went out and bought new furniture, right? I had a number in mind I wanted to spend. But as I kind of walked and realized what I wanted, what it was, and how it looked, and how I imagined it, like the need expanded, right? We don't have the luxury of walking, and I ended up paying way more than I thought. But I don't have the luxury, or clients have the luxury of walking the lot of, literally the cemetery a lot. I don't know, right? They're not going to walk and see this stuff. So you have to paint the picture. And this is what we use the inflation talk for, is to expand the perspective of the client more than probably what they're thinking. Does that make sense, everybody?